It's thick.
Want to get more beans into your life? Well, you're in luck because my family is going to cook exclusively from this book. Stick around to see what we think.
I'm not close.
It's a good burger.
Yeah?
It's very garlicky. I like it.
Oh, hold on.
I like it.
I don't think I'd make these again.
It's a really nice flavor.
I like it. I'm just gonna throw this out from a marketing perspective. I don't know if you want to lead with the white bean in the smoothie. I'm not gonna tell the kids that's what it's called.
Greetings and welcome to or welcome back to PB with Jay. Here on the channel, we focus on all things plant-based goodness. And today, we are going to be cooking exclusively from Joe Yonan's book, Cool Beans. This book came highly recommended by a few of you. And just going through it, I will say, I flagged a lot of recipes in here, especially the dips. I almost think I could have done a whole review video just on the dips in this book. And there's a lot of interesting info in here on top of just the recipes. There's information in here on canned beans versus making your own, the difference both in cooking, but nutrition. There's information on aquafaba, which, as you know, we talk about a lot on this channel. And there's even a whole section about beans, the musical fruit, which if you know, you know. And you know what? I'll give away some of the tips that the book gives at the end of this review, so stick around for that. A couple of things I will mention about this book going into it is it's not necessarily whole food plant-based focused. So there are quite a few recipes in here that focus on heavy amounts of oil. Any of the times that we use recipes like that, obviously we're going to be doing swaps probably with aquafaba just to get it more to the whole food plant-based, which is what we do here on the channel. So if you're not into swaps, and you want just a pure review of the recipe exactly as written, this might not be your thing. This is what we do around here. If you're unfamiliar with our review system, we use the tier system that people use all over the internet. I've got a image up here that gives you a sense of what the letters mean that you're gonna hear from us in terms of the ranking. Stick around to the end of this video because I'll let you know whether I think you should buy, borrow, or bypass this book altogether. And if you are interested in picking it up, I've got a link in the description down below where you can pick it up online. Getting it there helps us out, but it also helps out Joe. Before we get to the recipes, I'd like to give a quick hello to some of you who said hello to us in the comments down below. Sue and Roy in East Tennessee, Vicky from Mina Lake, South Dakota, Pa from Powell, Warsaw, Magda from Copenhagen, Denmark, Doreen from Waterbury, Connecticut, The Prayer Artist from Southeast Louisiana, Tasha from Cumbria, United Kingdom, Lucille from South Africa, Michelle from Ottawa, Pat from Peterborough, Ontario, Verl from Wilmstad in the Netherlands, Marjorie from Rochester, New York, and Susie from Rocky River, Ohio. If you want to shout out here on the channel, all you have to do is say hello to us in the comments down below. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and what is your favorite bean-related recipe. And if you want to bump up on that shoutout list, consider joining us over the Mighty Network for that perk, along with many others, the most important of which is really just being part of a community of like-minded individuals. And you can join us over there for the price of a crappy cup of coffee a month. Let's cook some beans! So for the first thing we're going to do for this recipe, I'm actually going to combine a couple of things for a dinner-ish thing. And it's not going to make sense, and it's going to be a little weird, but that's just how it rolls. So the first thing I'm making is this Harissa-Roasted carrot and white bean dip. And I'm going to serve that with a burger recipe that we're doing as well, just because I forgot to figure out a side for this. So that's how we doing tonight. So he says the combination of the harissa and the mint, when it's spicy and when cooling, makes this a really delicious meal. So I cooked a whole bunch of white beans and I saved their liquid, the aquafaba, because I'm going to use that in various recipes this week, including this one. So just like saving the liquid from chickpeas, you can save the liquid from white beans to make like a similar aquafaba. So the first thing I did, and I'm going to admit to making a mistake right away, and to be fair, I was making 3 recipes from this book around the same time, and I got confused and I missed something. So it's not like I missed something major. What I just did is I kind of it's more of a procedure thing that I messed up. So I've got this half a pound of carrots, and for those that don't have a weigher, a scale, that's what it's actually called, not a weigher. That's about 3 medium to large carrots. What you're supposed to do is cut those into 1-inch chunks and then toss them in oil, and then the harissa spice. I didn't want to use the oil, obviously, because that's not what we do around here. And I didn't even bother with the aquafaba because I find that I like the flavor of it without just fine. But because of that, there was nothing to make the harissa stick, so I just kept that out. And so what I did instead, also, you're gonna roast the garlic along with the carrots. So what I did instead was, when I added everything to the food processor, I also added the harissa spice then. I feel like it's gonna give a very similar vibe. It's gonna be less oily, that's for sure. So after you put that into the food processor, everything else goes in as well. And then he says to just add some aquafaba as you need to make it the creamy consistency you want. And then I'm gonna pour it into a container and just let it cool for a bit. He's got really elaborate instructions on how to make it pretty by putting it on a plate and spreading it out a certain way and adding more beans and stuff. Probably not gonna do that, but you can make it pretty like he has in his picture here.
I like it. It's good.
Yeah?
It's got like spices that normally wouldn't be in hummus, but tastes good.
Nice.
Give it an A.
Cheers. Ooh.
It's very garlicky.
Yes,
What?
it's
No.
roasted garlic.
It's okay. I don't know if I would choose this over hummus.
But this would be good as like a spread on a sandwich.
Yeah.
I want to tweak this a little bit, like a little more lemon in it or something. It's good. I like it. A minus.
Hey, Dad.
What do you got?
A B.
B.
Ew.
Hey, you have a bigger amount of it.
It's okay. It's missing something though.
I'm gonna put a little more lemon in.
Yeah, that would be good. It's like a B minus.
Yeah. So to go with that dip that we just tried, I'm also gonna make these Black-Bean-Chipotle Falafel Burgers is the full name. Here's the thing. This one takes a little bit of prep. So make sure you read the instructions properly, because it's really easy to mess this up thinking you're gonna make it for that day and realizing you can't, because you need to soak the black beans the day before. Now what's interesting, and this is similar to a chickpea falafel I make that I actually just did in a live stream recently that I will put a link to in the description down below. So instead of cooking the beans, you actually just soak them for a long time and then you blitz them up in a food processor with other things. And it makes a really, really interesting texture. That's really, really nice. So I recommend it highly. So otherwise, we're making this pretty close as is. We're putting everything into the food processor that is on the list here, and we're just blitzing it down. It says to process it until it's the texture of a very coarse cornmeal, and then fold in the sweet potato by hand. So I don't know why mine is so wet. But it is not a coarse cornmeal. It's a very wet kind of mixture. So let's see how that turns out. Then we're gonna take a heaping 1/3 of a cup of mixture and we're going to make patties with our hands. I actually found that this could make more than the recipe called for. It says it makes 8. I bet you probably could have squeaked 9 out of this. Or you could just make the patties a little bit bigger. It says to cover in plastic wrap. We don't tend to buy plastic wrap around here, especially because it's a one-time use thing. So what we do have though is some reusable plastic bags. So I just put in a really large one and then left it on a plate. And hopefully that does a similar thing to what they're looking for here. The other reason why you need to read this in advance is because she recommends after you form the patties that you put them in the fridge for 2 hours to overnight. So you don't want to make this just before dinner time because they're probably not going to rest properly. The other big difference I'm doing here is that she calls for basically frying them in a frying pan at the end in a 1/4 inch of oil. As you know, around here, we don't love the oil. We always swap it out. But for something like this, I'm just gonna air fry them. And I know that's gonna change the texture and whatnot. So we're grading it on that curve, whether or not you can make this whole food plant-based, avoiding the oil. If that bothers you for part of a review, this is not the channel for you.
Why is she blue on the inside?
Why is it blue? Because it's got Smurfs in it.
Mm-hmm. A good burger.
Yeah?
I give it an A.
Why? Why do you like it?
It tastes good.
You wanted to rip off a piece of my burger? You can have it dry with nothing on it.
Yeah. What
Did
am I supposed to have
Did you
on
already
it?
tell them that, Mom?
That's good. It's like crispy on the outside.
Mmm.
It has a really nice flavor.
I'm trying to do anything else.
I would eat that again. It's really
And
good.
it has a nice like crust on the outside, even with air frying it. You're supposed to be frying it in a pan.
Does it have cilantro in it? What's in
Yeah.
it? Ah, so I can taste.
It's nice.
Yeah, I like it.
It's simple. I don't know. That's like an A+.
Yeah, it's really good.
For like a bean burger that doesn't fall apart and isn't mushy.
Yeah.
That's a solid recipe. And that
And
wasn't,
that I like.
and Annie liked it, which does not always.
Barbecue season is ahead of us.
It's true. That might become our, at least that format. I might play with the spices a bit more. But
I like it.
and
Why
this
would
is
you
don't
play with it?
leave it. All right.
If we like it.
What did you get? Did you
Okay.
say?
I forgot.
Yeah.
What is like an A?
Yeah. What gives it an A? What makes it really good for you?
I feel like it could be better with more seasoning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you spice it more?
But like, it doesn't taste bad, so it's an A.
Nice. And you wanted to change yours?
To a B.
The dip?
Mm. It's got like weird spices that are really good when you first have it, and then just get less good.
Is it too much by the end?
Mm-hmm.
So to have for dessert, we're gonna make this mint chocolate and white bean oat cookie. This did not have a photo. I gotta say, a lot of the desserts and quite a few of the recipes in this book don't have photos. And this is definitely one that I would have liked to see a photo for because it's just something different than I've made or seen before. So I just like a point of reference. Anyway, you'll have ours. Whether or not that's accurate, I don't know. So the first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Although I don't know why she's having you preheat at the beginning because you got to rest the cookies for a bit. Anyway, preheat the oven before you're going to use it. She's got very specific cooking instructions too here. It says set 2 oven racks in the upper middle and lower middle positions. I'll tell you what we're going to do with that when we get to it. So you're going to take the beans and you're going to use some of the aquafaba as well. She says about 3 tablespoons. Although we're going to use a little bit more because this recipe calls for vegan or non-dairy butter. So I actually decided to just use the same amount of aquafaba and I whipped it all together in our stand mixer with like the bloom thing. And then I swapped that out with the paddle and then I added the coconut sugar is what I use instead of brown sugar. And then I added in our non-dairy milk, the extracts, and then slowly started to fold in the rolled oats, the salt, baking soda, baking powder, and then the bacon chips. And I think this is gonna be okay. Like it's a bit thick, or not thick, but it's a bit liquidy, but not terribly so, especially knowing that it's gonna rest for a bit, because those oats are gonna thicken up inside the fridge, right? If anyone that's ever made overnight oats, you know how that's gonna go. So I think by the time I go to actually bake these cookies, it's gonna be fine. She says to scoop about 2 tablespoons worth of dough. If you've got one of those cookie scoops like we have, I think that'll be the right amount. She says to leave at least 2 inches between cookies and flatten slightly with the back of a spatula. Bake until the bottoms are deeply browned, about 25 minutes. She says to rotate the baking sheets from top to bottom and front to back of your oven halfway through. So we're gonna do that as well. And then you're gonna let the cookies cool on sheets for 5 minutes and then put them on a cooling rack to finish cooling. And then we're gonna smash them into our faces and see what we think.
smells like mint. I did not cook.
Really? Maybe it's meant to be a little squishy.
It'd be better if it was more cooked.
Should I put them back in?
Maybe.
Well,
They're like really, really mushy.
oh yeah, I can feel it. All right, let's cook them longer.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
It's kind of crisp on the outside.
Why is it minty?
It's a mint chocolate cookie. It's minty. It's supposed to be minty. You don't like it?
Not really.
With that?
No.
Is it the taste or the texture? Evie thought it was like, it needs to be cooked longer.
Taste is good.
So is it like an F for you, Annie?
No.
Okay. So what's it for you just flavor-wise, Eve?
Hey.
It's almost like they're like weirdly grainy or something.
There's
Is there
be-
protein powder in it?
there's white bean in it.
I think that's what the texture is.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but they're not like right home about it.
Got it.
B.
Okay. The mint is very minty, and when the chocolate comes in, it's very nice, but I see what they mean. It's not a bad texture, but you know what the problem is? Is that it uses a paddle to mix it all up, where for me, I would have poured the aquafaba into a food processor and done everything in there instead, maybe. Just to make sure the bean really gets mushed up, because I mashed it with a fork, but it's only going to get so mashed, and you put it in a paddle, it's just not going to blend it well. So I think it's little chunks of bean they're reacting to, but it's not bad. A B plus to an A. I don't think I'd make these again. So it's like a B, but I'll gladly finish them. I also think probably the lack of butter in it and using aquafaba instead might have made an effect on the texture. So let's call that one on me. So for tonight's dinner, I'm going to make this Crispy Hoppin John. I don't think I've ever had Hoppin John. I know it's traditionally a soup. I think traditionally it's served at New Year's. Give me a whole lesson down in the comments down below about Hoppin John. But what's interesting with this one is it turns it into a crispy cake, which I think will be fun for us. And it does call for jasmine rice, and I'm going to use that right now because Wooly is kind of doing a little stomach reset, and so she's eating white rice right now, which is not primarily what we would do, but it lends itself to this recipe since that's what we're supposed to use anyway, which is great. So the trick to this recipe is it seems really simple to make. It's just time consuming because you need to cook the rice and the kind of soup portion of it in advance and let it cool down. That's what it recommends anyway. So I'm taking out all the oil, obviously. So just cook your jasmine rice however you would normally cook jasmine rice. My wife just had some extra in the Instant Pot last night, so it's in the fridge, so I don't need to do anything about that. It's already made. As for the black-eyed peas part, I'm making that like in the middle of the day, so it has time to cool. And I'm giving it way extra time because I don't know if I'm cursed when it comes to black-eyed peas, but the last 2 or 3 times I've tried to use them, they took forever to cook to the point where we just needed to eat. And then they ended up being a little firm. So I'm going to give them a lot of time to cook today. So basically, we're taking out the oil. We're just going to dry saute the vegetables in the pot. And then once they're ready to go, we're going to add in the seasonings. It calls for dried thyme. I had some fresh thyme, so I did a mixture of dry and fresh. Some salt and pepper, and it calls for 4 cups of water, so I decided to put in half of that as vegetable broth, just to add a little extra flavor. We bring that to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it down to medium-low heat, and then we're going to cook. It says until the black-eyed peas are tender, so 35 to 45 minutes, so we'll just keep an eye on it. And then I'm going to let it cool to room temperature, and then refrigerate as best I can before I have to cook this in a couple hours from now. As for the smoked tofu, it says to fry it in a pan. I just air fried it. I chopped it up in little pieces and air fried it for like 10 minutes at 350 degrees. And so I'll put that in once this is cooked and let it sit inside of that soup as well. Once everything is done and cooled, what we're going to do is take out the cold rice, put it into a large bowl, And then using a slotted spoon, we're gonna scoop out the same amount of black-eyed pea mixture. It doesn't say how much, so just use equal amounts. So we'll figure out how much rice we have and then add the same amount of the pea mixture. You don't want the liquid. He says to save it and use it as a broth if you want, which is great because I used up the last of my broth here. So I'll just strain it all out. And then I guess if you have any extra of the peas left, just leave it as like a soup. Then he says to pour some oil into an oven-proof skillet. I'm probably going to just lightly grease my pan with a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick. You know us, I don't like to use a ton of oil, but I'll put a little bit on just to help that out. And then we're going to get the oven at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And it says to bake at that temperature for 20 to 30 minutes until deep brown around the edges. Remove from the oven and let it rest for 10 minutes. And it says if you use the non-stick skillet, you can slide the cake onto a large platter and then flip it over. Wish me luck! Ooh. Garnish with parsley and serve with hot sauce. Because of the smoked tofu, I know going into this that's probably going to make it so it's not a favorite meal for a couple people in this house. But I wanted to follow the recipe a little bit more than sometimes I do around here. And also, I think Wooly tends to like the smoked tofu a little bit, and maybe Annie will too. I don't know. I don't know what their issue is with smoky flavored things. Maybe it's something you gotta grow up with. Do you not like smoky things? Let me know in the comments down below if that's a thing that a lot of people don't like. Worst case scenario, maybe I'll win them over with the next meal I'm gonna make, which is a smoothie using beans.
It's bad.
You need more description.
I can't. I just want to try this to get the flavor out of my mouth. That's how bad it is.
So F?
Yes.
The crispy part of the rice is fun.
I like it. I taste parsley. I like it.
Yeah, it's very plain. But the smoked tofu adds quite a bit to it.
Yeah, that's what she doesn't like.
That's what she doesn't like. I didn't think Annie would like this. But I wanted to try because we haven't made something like this before.
I like that. I would eat this again for sure.
Hey. Yeah, I'd want to add more flavor.
You know what you could do? You could put like a sauce, like a green goddess or something, just sauce drizzle on it.
Yeah.
And then it would just add something. But I like it the way it is.
Yeah, a little sauce on top.
Sometimes plain things are just kind of nice.
Yeah, it does have a lot of flavor. Like every bite has flavor.
Is that mine?
Yeah, even though it's really minimally spiced. 1 second.
It's okay.
And mine.
I don't like the flavor, but I'll eat it. I like the smoked tofu.
You don't like it?
I got C.
But. So to add to our dinner, I'm going to make this white bean smoothie with mango, coconut, mint, and ginger. I'm just going to throw this out from a marketing perspective. I don't know if you want to lead with the white bean in the smoothie. I'm not going to tell the kids that's what it's called. This is really simple. Essentially, everything goes into the blender and you whir it up. The recipe calls for fresh mango, but it says that if you're using frozen mangoes, what we've got, to just don't use the ice. And what I like about that too is it probably won't make it as watery as well and make it a little bit thicker. So in my experience, 1 large mango, which is what the recipe calls for, is roughly 2 cups of mango. So that's just what I used here, and I omitted the 2 cups of ice. The only other thing I've swapped out is I just omitted the agave nectar. I didn't omit it, I swapped it out with maple syrup. So that's what we got. And I used some fresh mint from our Click and Grow, which is, it's always nice to just grow your own herbs and whatnot. You just grab them. You don't have to worry about picking up from the grocery store and not having them. Herbs are like the one thing, if you can grow on your own, you can do it from your home. Especially if you have something like a Click and Grow. But you can do it in a small garden, in your, even just like little pots in your house.
Why is it grainy? Can I get my review later?
Why?
Because I need to think.
Sure.
What is it?
It's a smoothie.
What kind of smoothie?
I'm not gonna tell you. Just drink it.
It seems
It's
like
like a mango.
dessert.
It's like a mango lassi kind of smoothie, but it's not a mango lassi. But that's like the closest thing I would probably compare it to.
It's like a mango pina colada.
Yeah.
I think this is what it tastes like. Is there coconut in it?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
A.
Nice. What do you like about it?
This tastes like a mango pina colada.
It's thick.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
why I
it's
need a
good.
mustache.
Does it taste grainy to you?
No.
Maybe it's a bit grainy.
I like it.
There are beans in it.
What?
I bet you could freeze this into popsicles.
Well, it's a
too.
bean book. This is the Cool Beans book, so everything has beans in it.
Oh.
But that's good for you, bulking, right? It does taste more desserty.
I think it would make good popsicles.
Mmm. I like there's some mint in there. There's a little bit of ginger. And the beans, I don't even notice the beans at all. Yeah, it's like an A+ for me. Not quite an S, but it's like an A, solid A. I would make this again. Andy says she started with a drink, and it is a C. So now, before I give you my final thoughts on Cool Beans, I thought it'd be fun to just go through that chapter that talks about, beans, the magical fruit. It's actually called Let the Music Play, this chapter. And it acknowledges that beans are kind of, known for making you gaseous, I will say. I am not unprone to the odd toot myself. I like to toot my own horn. But it's not a horn,
How about some more beans, Mr. Taggart? I'd say you've had enough.
So if you are having issues with a little additional flatulence, here's some tips that Joe says you should consider. First of all, if you're just starting to add beans to your diet, it might just take a while for your body to regulate, especially if you're eating more whole foods and you're eating more fiber in general. Your body's just going to take a little while to get used to it, but it won't take that long, a couple of weeks, and it'll adjust to the amount, which is probably a lot more than most people have, and it's definitely a healthier amount than most people consume. The thing is, it's not a bad thing to fart. It's not a bad thing to have flatulence. It's a sign that your body is digesting things. Joe also suggests that you consider a variety of different beans because some might affect you more than others, and if you're having a big issue with one and not another, then maybe just try to avoid that bean. The beautiful thing about most recipes is that you can swap out different beans for different types. There's a lot of white beans, like most recipes that ask for chickpeas, you could use like a cannelli bean or a white bean. And if there's a recipe that calls for black beans, you could probably swap out pinto beans or red kidney beans and whatnot. Another suggestion is to soak your beans overnight. Obviously discard that water and then cook it with clean water after that. It says it can reduce the flatulence by 75 to 80%, and even higher if you put some baking soda into the soaking water, which we have done as well. It does give a little warning, though, that all that soaking can result in the loss of some of the nutrients, so be aware of that trade-off. He's actually got a whole chapter in here that is called To Soak or Not to Soak, so check that out. Another tip is to cook the beans with kombu, which apparently helps with the digestion of beans as well. And last but not least, he says just get some Bean-Oat. That's one of the suggestions. Just get some Bean-Oat and deal with it. So what did we think of this book? I gotta say, what made me excited about this was just doing a couple things with beans that I hadn't done before. Obviously, there's a lot of recipes in here that we didn't do that are kind of more of your typical fare. Like there's definitely, baked beans in here, things like that. So I tried to go a little bit outside of the box with, a dessert, a smoothie using beans. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought that more of these recipes would not hit with my family. I was pleasantly surprised, especially with that Crispy Hoppin John one, which just looking at the recipe, I was like, this is gonna be bland. And I mean, Annie didn't love it, but that's not a shock. I was really surprised that Wooly liked it as much as she did. And in fact, she was talking about it again this morning about how we should take that recipe and keep playing with it with some other flavors. But she liked the the way they were. So for me, this book is definitely a buy for those of you that want to just up your bean game, especially for those of you that can't or don't want to eat as much tofu for various reasons. It just gives you a really, really good variety of different recipes to consider that you can just add more to your repertoire. So I think this book is definitely a buy if you have the means to do so. If not, check it out from your local library and borrow it. I think it's good whether you are beginning on this journey or whether you're like a seasoned pro and you're super comfy in the kitchen. And don't forget, we have the link in the description down below if you do want to pick it up. Thanks for joining us. If you like this video, hit the like button to let YouTube know to share this with other people. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't done so yet for more videos like this. And stick around because YouTube has this video all queued up and ready for you to digest. And hopefully, it won't give you flatulence. Huh? That's awful. I don't know why I ended that way.